This is a Wave podcast.
Reinventing Ourselves Career Journeys is a podcast series that showcases real-life stories of people who have successfully reinvented themselves through their careers. People who have overcome adversity, found new purpose, explored new horizons, and followed their passion. Hi, welcome to Reinventing Ourselves. I'm Eric Major. Having always aspired to be a professor, Douglas set his sights on pursuing a Ph.D. upon arrival in Canada. While waiting for his permanent residency, he joined the Brazilian Soccer Academy, an organization dedicated to children's sports and life skills development. He found his calling as a coach. With the goal of increasing his impact, he completed a sports management diploma and today shares his passion with Right to Play, one of the most high-profile nonprofits in the world. Reinventing Ourselves Career Journeys.
Hello, I'm Lori, your host for another episode of Reinventing Ourselves Career Journeys. Today we'll be exploring the career of Douglas, a sport development professional and soccer coach based in Courtice, a small town just east of Toronto, Ontario. Hello, Douglas, and welcome.
Thank you for having me, Lori. It's a pleasure being here and sharing a little bit more about my professional experience as an immigrant in Canada.
Now, sports fans around the world would probably say that you're living the dream as a professional soccer coach and that you're building bright futures with one of the most high-profile nonprofits in the sports arena today. But your path here was neither direct or predictable, and that's what we want to talk about today. So let's start at the beginning. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what career plans you had upon graduation?
I was born and raised in Brazil, in the south of the country, and I moved to Canada in 2014. At first, I went to school to become a history teacher. Over time, I started doing some academic research, and I have decided that I would like to dedicate my time to pursue some post-secondary education. So after my undergrad, I did a master's in cultural history, and right after finishing my master's, my wife and I decided to move to Canada so we could start our PhD in Guelph at the University of Guelph, which is not far from Toronto. In 2014, we made the move to Canada, and the plan at that point was doing our PhD there.
What prompted you to take that decision to leave Brazil, and why did you choose Canada?
My wife, at the time she was my girlfriend, was born in Canada.
Oh.
She moved to Brazil when she was 2 years old. So after her mother and her father got divorced, her mother moved back to Canada. So in Canada, we would have some family support, at least someone who we trust that we could count on, because we know that moving to another country is not the easiest thing to do in life. So we moved to Canada because of her mom and also because of the immigration, and knowing that because she was born in Canada and she was Canadian by birth, it would be a little bit easier for me to get my status in Canada than going to another country and start the process from other ways to immigrate. So, and additionally, we had a professor at the university where we study in Brazil, and she did her PhD in Canada. So she reached out to some of her former classmates, and some of them were very interested about the subject that we want to study for our PhD.
So while you were working on getting organized to take your PhD, you were waiting for official immigration status, and you became a coach with the Brazilian Soccer Academy. Tell us about how that happened.
So, Lori, I have to say that this was totally unexpected. I played soccer my whole life, but I never saw myself as a soccer coach. As you said, our plan was doing our PhD in Canada, but financially, as an international student, it would cost us a fortune. So we could not afford to study as international students at the time. So once we landed in Canada, we applied for my permanent residency based on my marriage, because at that point, we were already married with my wife, which was and still is a Canadian citizen. So it took a year and a half to process my application. And during this time, the government allowed folks who were waiting in Canada to the processing of the application to work. So they would allow people to apply for a work permit and start working. So in this meantime, while I was waiting for my permanent residency, I started coaching. To be honest, that's something that I could do. I had experience playing and I had experience working with children and youth because I studied to be a teacher. So it happened because I was playing soccer. This was one of the first things that I did once I landed. I was trying to find some people to play soccer with me because soccer was a very important and still is a very important part of my life. And I want to keep on playing, even though I was not, in my country anymore. So I started playing with some friends or some people that accepted me to play with them. And now they become my friends. And one of these players had and still have soccer academy. So he invited me to coach at the Brazilian Soccer Academy and support the coach there. And to be honest with you, at first, for many days, because the other coach didn't have a car, I was just driving the equipment to the facility, going after the training to pick the equipment. And I was happy doing that because I was involved in something that I really liked and I really enjoyed. And also helping a few days with some coaching. And over time, of course, I got more responsibilities and I end up becoming the head coach of the organization.
So it sounds like this experience with the academy helped you develop a new passion for life, working with the children and contributing to their education and development through the sport of soccer. So once you developed this new passion, what steps did you take to pursue it?
One thing that I have to mention is the fact that Brazilian Soccer Academy is a non-for-profit organization, and we work with many newcomers to Canada, which is more affordable than other organizations. So working with soccer showed me that I want to do that for life. And I want to work with sports, education, and underserved youth. But I also realized that the timing that I was coaching was very limiting because different than Brazil, for example, where kids go to school in the morning or in the afternoon, in Canada, the school takes a big chunk of children's time. So the training was, and still is, in the evenings only. So being a soccer coach was great as an extra source of income, I would say, but to be a full-time coach, work exclusively with that would be a challenge because there was no enough hours in the day to do that. So I thought about the steps that I would need to take to make maybe a bigger impact and to have a salary out of my passion. So I decided to go back to school and I did a postgrad in sport business management at Humber College. And less than 1 year later, I had my diploma and I was feeling more confident to apply for other opportunities in the sport industry.
Fantastic. So other than the financial piece, what other obstacles did you encounter being in a new country and how did you overcome them?
I have a sister, she's younger than me. She's like 6 years younger and she just built her house and she has no debts on the house that she has. And sometimes I compare myself to her and think like, okay, but I'm 6 years older than her and I'm financing my house. The fact that I had to restart my life all over again at the age of 26 was probably one of the challenges that I had. Paid off. I never regret the fact that I moved to Canada. I would do all over again as many times as I need, but understanding that took a little bit longer than probably it would take if I would stay in Brazil. And also, I think one of the biggest challenges that I had was with language. So when I first moved to Canada, I could not order a coffee in English. Yeah. So on top of working and having to pay for the expenses of living in a city that is not cheap as Toronto, I was going every single day to a place. It used to be called St. Christopher's House. It is on Dundas and Ossington. They had ESL classes.
ESL means English as a Second Language. Founded in 1912, St. Christopher's House became one of the first settlement houses in Canada. In 2014, the organization was renamed as West Neighbourhood House. Today it has 6 locations in downtown West Toronto, offering programs like adult learning, newcomer settlement, women's empowerment, programs for children and parents, older adults, people with disabilities, and caregivers.
I had no way to afford for paid classes, so I would go after work taking some classes there. So it helped me to build my confidence because my wife as well, even though she was born in Canada, she moved to Brazil when she was 2 years old. So English was not her first language. And at home, we were only speaking Portuguese. I understood that I had to leave the house to have opportunities to learn the language. And as I said, it helped me to build my confidence because at first I thought that I wasn't at the standards to apply for a position outside of the positions that I at the time understood that were positions for immigrants. Recently, we had an event where at work, they asked me to speak about my experience being a Latino in Canada. And I was talking about how sometimes, at least happened with me and many other people I know, the feeling that we're not good enough or we are in Canada to do the work that Canadians don't want to do. So to overcome that, it was a process. I still have to remind myself that I'm capable. I can do anything that I want.
That's a really unique perspective. And I'm sure that that confidence is what resulted in your current role with the organization called Right to Play. Tell us about that organization and the work you do there.
We are in 16 countries, but in Canada, we work with 75 Indigenous communities across the country. We do after school or youth leadership programming with them. I travel to places that many Canadians would never have the opportunity to go because those places are very remote. But the work that I do is very special. My position is Sport for Development Coordinator to organize sport events in communities and sport opportunities. So as you can imagine, with COVID, my role changed a lot because we were talking about places that don't have hospitals, for instance, or many of them don't have. We stopped traveling, but then I was doing some remote coaching. That's a very special job. I work with amazing people. I want to make an impact. And I guess in the position that I have right now, I'm making a big impact in many children and youth lives.
That's wonderful. Based on this success, what advice would you offer to someone wanting to follow in your footsteps?
The first thing they have to do is do it. It can be scary.
Yeah.
It is scary. It is not easy, especially in the beginning, maybe the first year or so or 2 years. It happened to me a lot of reflecting if I made the right decision to move to Canada. Things start working much better at the time that I decided that my life was in Canada. I can say that I'm doing well and I'm happy.
That positive mindset that I keep hearing from you, that is the root of your success. I often say that I'm very lucky, and the harder I work, the luckier I get. It sounds like you have taken that kind of a route and always looked for resources that were available, like the Christopher House. You have to look for it and believe.
Yeah, definitely. We have to be very resourceful. And I think, to be honest, talking as a Brazilian, we are. We have to survive in an environment that is not the ideal environment. And it makes us resilient and makes us resourceful.
Well, I thank you, Douglas, for sharing your personal story with us.
Always an opportunity that I have to reflect on my own path and plan my future. So every time I have an invite like your invite, I see as a great opportunity to be grateful and plan the future steps. Thank you so much.
We hope that you continue to enjoy success throughout the next chapters of your journey. So goodbye, adieu, and ciao.
Reinventing Ourselves Career Journeys is realized by BRZ Group Inc. This project was made possible through the generous support of Ontario Creates.
For more Wave podcasts, go to waveplus.ca.